More on the Electoral College, and I have some info on the Wisconsin mess, as well as information that I'll be sharing with you on the Hake Report. This is the end of Hour 2 of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show. It is Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. Stay tuned for Hour 3. Jesse Lee Peterson will be right back. It's 7:55 a.m. here in Los Angeles. After JLP, catch the Hake Report, thehakereport.com/show. More on the Electoral College. The Epoch Times continued from some of the information that I shared with you in the Hake News section of last hour. Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, and Arizona Republican electors cast votes for President Trump, as did electors in Michigan, sending more than one slate of electors because they gave electors for the Democrats, because officially, so-called, the results are for Democrats, according to the mainstream media, and the Democrats and the rhinos, right? Sending more than one slate of electors is not unheard of, said Meshawn Maddock, a Michigan Republican at-large national elector, in an emailed release. It is our duty to the people of Michigan and to the U.S. Constitution to send another slate of electors if the election is in controversy or dispute, and it clearly is, he said. Or she, I think Meshawn, I think that's a he. The Pennsylvania GOP said in a news release that electors met in Harrisburg to cast conditional vote for Trump and Pence at the request of the Trump campaign. Their vote comes as Democrat electors cast their electoral votes for Biden and Harris. Same thing for Nevada and Arizona. And Georgia, presumably, right? 5 states. The Electoral College votes are cast on December 14th, that's yesterday, and then counted on January 6th during a joint session of Congress when the House and Senate, House of Representatives and Senate, they meet in the U.S., right? According to the U.S. Code, when the House and Senate meet, they have a look into all the certificates and papers purporting to be certificates of the electoral votes prepared by each of the states, right? Several Republican members of the U.S. Congress have said that they would attempt to object to the counting of the Electoral College votes for a state, which would then trigger a series of debates and votes. White House advisor Stephen Miller, the great Stephen Miller, I think, told Fox News on December 14th that alternate groups of the electors were being chosen in several states, claiming that it would lead to Trump's reelection. The only date in the Constitution is January 20th, is what he said. So we have more than enough time to right the wrong of this election result, Stephen Miller said on Fox and Friends, referring to Inauguration Day. That's January 20th. It's unclear if legislators certified the results in these states. The Epoch Times reached out to the Republican majority leaders, but didn't hear back immediately. So it's unclear if all the Republican electors in the 5 states were formally certified. Who knows what will happen, right? We do know that Republicans tend to be weak rhinos who don't wield their power properly. And Wisconsin mess. The Epoch Times says that Wisconsin Supreme Court rules that the pandemic does not exempt voters from proving their identity. However, the Wisconsin Supreme Court rejected the Trump lawsuit challenging the election result. More on the Wisconsin mess from the Hake Report coming up after Jesse Lee Peterson's show. Some judges are a real piece of work. A beauty, as Trump might say, sarcastically. But about voter ID, the plain language of Wisconsin's election law requires that each elector make an individual assessment to determine whether he or she qualifies as indefinitely confined or disabled for an indefinite period, Chief Justice Patience Roggensack wrote in a majority opinion. A county clerk may not declare that any elector is indefinitely confined due to a pandemic, because that's the only way that they can do the absentee ballots, I guess. In addition, the court ruled, without voter ID, of course. In addition, the court ruled that votes could not count for those who falsely claimed the status of indefinitely confinement or indefinite confinement. It's unclear whether the decision will invalidate some of the votes which were cast in this year's presidential election, or if it's simply for future reference. Who knows? By the way, no women's forum this week, ladies. Normally we do have women's forums third Thursday. But not this week. Jesse is out of town. I'm James Hake. Now on to Jesse.